me tell you, if that got Anne Hathaway out of her seat, I'm in good shape. We must fill existing gaps in New York law, whether in the penal law, the civil rights law, the public health law, or anywhere else, to protect a woman's right to choose. We must protect the right of entrepreneurs who are women or people of color to compete fairly in a marketplace that is still, sadly, rife with discrimination. 2 weeks ago, David Patterson presented a comprehensive plan to break down the barriers to opportunity that minority and women-owned businesses face. We will require that qualified minority and women-owned businesses be given opportunities for contracts to develop the permanent capacity they need to compete on a level playing field. Only then can market competition reveal merit, allowing the best firms to win. We should protect the rights of persons with disabilities in New York. Justin Dart, the father of the disability rights movement, called upon all of us to lead a, quote, revolution of empowerment. That revolution remains unfinished. Persons with disabilities still face significant impediments in terms of education, housing, transportation, and health care. We must do more to ensure a culture of inclusion, independence, and empowerment for all New Yorkers. We must restructure our workforce development to give persons with disabilities the skills they need to find a job. We must reform Medicaid to encourage the best models of care and do more to support caregivers and to provide life and financial planning to those with disabilities. And yes, as you have heard tonight, we must make same-sex marriage legal in New York State. No New Yorker should be deprived of the right to marry the person of his or her choice, regardless of gender. This is not about forcing any religion to perform or recognize gay marriage. I respect the beliefs of different faiths, but this is, very simply, about permitting gay and lesbian couples the right to live in stable, long-term, married relationships. This is not about government choosing winners or losers. It's about a government that recognizes and protects the fundamental individual value of every single New Yorker. Such a commitment will benefit our entire society because the protection of individual rights will become mutually reinforcing and create a culture that places greater value on the rights and aspirations of everyone. However, I believe, as I imagine all of you do, that in the current national discussion of civil rights, such values are not being projected adequately. I believe that the history of civil rights in our state and our country has come to a crossroads. In deciding how broadly our Constitution protects individuals from prejudice, just because they look or act differently from others, the debate has focused on cold constitutional doctrines and textual review rather than the real struggles of real people. But if there's one lesson that the past 50-plus years have taught us about our conception of rights, it is that abstract principles and literal readings of text are not enough to give meaning to our core ideals of freedom, liberty, and equality. What is required is that we seek an honest understanding of what is, as well as an abiding vision of things that ought to be. We can put it another way. We could ask, what would have happened if the so-called strict constructionists had prevailed in Brown versus Board of Education? What would have happened if the court had been paralyzed by a fear of legislating from the bench when it decided Loving v. Virginia, which declared race-based restrictions on marriage unconstitutional? What would have happened is this: we would not have had as open, free, and fair a society as we do today. There would not have been a steady expansion of civil rights. The rights revolution, which we revel in, which has been disavowed by the far political right, would not have occurred. The progress of 200 years of education and social reform would have been traded in for a stagnant and tired view that would have left huge portions of our society behind. We must ensure that the rights revolution continues in New York State. And in this regard, I believe that we can once again lead the nation. Let us go back for a moment to Susan B. Anthony. She said once, "Cautious, careful people, always casting about to preserve their reputations, can never affect real reform." Well, folks, many people have called me many things over the past 8 years. Cautious has not been one of them. And here's what I can tell you. If David Patterson and I are elected in November, we will not ask whether this proposition of legalizing same-sex marriage is popular or unpopular. We will not ask if it's hard or easy. We will simply ask if it's right or wrong. And I think we know in this room what the answer to that question is. And we will make it the law of the state of New York. I believe that we must base our public policy upon the basic idea that unifies every movement for civil rights, the fundamental principle that the dignity of every person should be respected. This is a vision that you and I have shared for a long time. I look forward to working with you to make it the law of the state of New York. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me tonight. Thank you, and God bless.